One.
Welcome to America's Mayor Live. This is Rudy Giuliani, and we have a very, I think we have a show for you tonight that will convince you that the debate the other night was something other than we've ever seen. We've seen like little crookedness in debates, like when Candy Crowley fact-checked Romney, and she was wrong, by the way. A day later, she was proven to be wrong. The Biden debate, they tried. There was no way to help him because he couldn't take any signals. He completely had no brain. And they didn't go anywhere near as far as these two. These two were off the charts, particularly David Weir. I don't know Weir. I don't know where the hell he comes from, but he's a complete liar. I don't know how many times he said things that are not true or that he didn't fact check. Like when it was said that Trump's tax cuts only help the rich. Every newspaper in the world has done analysis and put it out there, as have every reporter, that tax cuts basically helped everyone, and doing away with the tax cuts, everybody's taxes will go up. It is true, it will be very different for people, but it's not going to depend so much on rich or poor. It's going to depend on where you live, because certain deductions had a disparate impact. For example, and then it depends there. Now, for example, if you're really poor, it's not going to affect you at all because you don't pay taxes. Okay? It's not even going to affect you. If you do, and you're moderately poor, you probably don't deduct state and local income tax. And if you do, it doesn't reach 1,000, or you take the standard deduction. If you take the state and local income tax deduction, you're going to get hurt. In other words, if you've got a tax reduction, no matter what, you didn't get as big a tax reduction as somebody who lives in a state without the state and local income tax. But the idea of that is to encourage states to get rid of that, to lower their state and local income tax. Do them good. Why the hell do you think people are leaving New York and California in record numbers and going to Florida and Texas? Because there's a big, giant income tax in New York. You pay more than half of what you earn to the governments, which is like communism. You're working for them. I describe it as the government's the senior partner in your wages. I get to keep 45% of what I earn. I give the government 55%. It would be like I was in a business, I'd be the junior partner, right? So I'm the junior partner in this earning money with the sweat on my brow. Country doesn't last long that way. If that is the prevailing rule, we're a socialist country. So in the high tax states, we're a socialist country. But the simple fact is that even those people got a tax break. And those people will get a tax increase. It'll change depending on certain peculiarities of the law. Sometimes the poor actually will do well no matter what. When we say, people are earning enough money so they are able to use the state and local income tax where it makes sense to. Otherwise, they get a standard deduction and they're fine. Here's another one. Donald Trump has opposed IVF. From the moment the issue came up, Donald Trump has been in favor of IVF. In fact, he's been rather explicit on it in explaining it. She claimed that she and Biden have created 800,000 new jobs. Turned out to be a phony number. Reported just a week ago, 2 weeks ago. Weir didn't correct it. Now, I could go on and on and on. I'm not. If you don't know that was a fixed debate, you're not too smart. It's like a fixed fight. When I was little, my father used to take me to boxing matches all over New York. Places like Sunnyside Garden, the Brooklyn something or other. I mean, on Friday night, there was Madison Square Garden. But during the week, there were the minor league boxing matches. And every once in a while, you'd hear somebody running around. I was a kid. I would hear them say, "Don't bet on this one, the fixes it. Don't bet on this one, the fixes it." That meant that this one was like what wrestling in the day, and you didn't bet on wrestling. You didn't bet on wrestling because it was fixed. That's why you shouldn't have bet on this debate. It was fixed. I've never seen anything close to what these two did. I've seen Candy Crowley. She got fired for it. Candy Crowley go ahead and correct Romney incorrectly and really affect the flow of that debate. But these people were doing it constantly. David Muir even gave us his opinion. Trump said that when he was talking about Kamala Harris, once emphasizing the fact that she was Indian and then later emphasizing black, and that he thought she was Indian. He basically said he was confused. He was basically confused. And then what was the statement that he made that was
about the election? How about we play the clip?
And then when he said that the election was decided, I won or lost by a whisker, something like that. So Muir uses that as, well, you made a concession that the election was legitimate for the first time. First of all, I know Trump said immediately, actually, when he said it, I was being sarcastic.
Yeah.
Which of course he was. Trump, I think you'd have to torture him to get him to say that the election wasn't fixed. He truly believes it. And even then, he might take the torture. But you have tortured him. I mean, if he was going to say it was not fixed, he would have said it a long time ago. So he said it was being sarcastic. And he was. I know it. In my heart, I know it. I remember. I know it. Muir gives us our opinion of his observation. He said, well, I took a good look at those tapes, and I did not interpret you as being sarcastic. Who gives a shit what you thought? You jackass. Your opinion's any better than mine? Show it to me. Instead, you want to do that? Play it and say, you decide. Instead of trying to superimpose your damn socialist, liberal, communist position on me, you rat. The guy should have been fired. They should have ended the debate right there and threw him out. Boom, out, you bum. You're not a journalist. I checked. And what did he do? He do it in advance to trap him? You happen to look at those? I mean, he's looking at that hardly important video. I mean, maybe the people dying around the world is important video. Maybe the people dying of fentanyl is important video. Maybe is it 10 million or 20 million that are in here that are illegals? Maybe the fact that they're disproportionately criminals, or that they've taken over El Paso, they've taken over Aurora. Look at Aurora. Aurora, we reported on this week, or was it last week? I can't remember when it started. I mean, the number of crimes in Aurora is astounding. And Governor Feliz Navidad says the people of Aurora are lying. They're getting the hell kicked out of them by the people he put there because he is an open border offering money to illegal aliens freak. That's why. And he's a jack.
Navidad. Feliz Navidad.
That guy's going to protect you against Transnicaragua? They must look at him and say, yeah, let's go to Colorado. Look at that jackass. We'll take over Aurora. By the way, they kill somebody in Denver, too. It isn't Denver escapes it. But at least Denver is responsible to some extent because they're a sanctuary city. They give them housing. They give them money. They give them anything the hell they want, and they have no idea if they aren't just let out of prison. They have no idea because the Biden administration has no idea. They don't check them. The vetting is totally incompetent. Half the time, it doesn't even happen. They just let them in because they're too crowded to vet. And then, believe me, they're pretty close to the same amount of people in here we never saw. So they weren't even cursorily vetted. The one who murdered you or raped your daughter. I have no idea how we're even debating with the border czar. I mean, to put up the border czar as the candidate of the Democrat Party after the atrocity of the border, after really what is a determined attempt to destroy America as we know it, to destroy the American culture, the American nationality, is absolutely and completely disgusting. But Aurora, which is the place that Governor Feliz Navidad told us was lying about the number of criminals there, right? Has, let's see, a top 10 Trendiaragua leader named Cookie was based in Aurora. Cops on Wednesday publicly identified 10 suspected members of the gang who've been arrested for terrorizing the city. They are organized at the edge at the Lowry complex. And this is a very small city. And I am going to show you their pictures. You have it, Ted? There we go. I'll give you their names. This is the city that doesn't have any. All these people, I think all these people are in jail for violent crimes right now, all happening in this little tiny city of Aurora. Where how many they put into Aurora? It was 20,000 in Springfield, which has 50,000, which is of Haitians. But these are people from Venezuela that were put here. That actually, no, they weren't. They were put in Denver, and they came over here to Aurora, which is 30 miles away or something. Larry Medina, Yohani Pacheco Chirinos. Now, he is the leader, the second guy there. Luis Miguel Calzadia Rojas. We don't have the full name there because it. Juan Carlos Mejia Espana, Carlos Aragoran Mayoro, and Roberto Daniel Mora Marquez, and Jose Miguel Reyes. They've all been arrested in the last 2 weeks in Aurora. All Trans de Aragua members, high level. Trans de Aragua is a prison gang, which also supports the absolute truth that Maduro is emptying out his prisons and sending them to America. Now, it shouldn't shock anyone. He's just doing what Castro did. If you're a student of communism, not a communist, but a student of communism, I'm a student of communism. Walls may very well be the opposite. He may be who I'm studying. Of course, they all know about what Castro did, and they try to replicate it. So crime is down, and they don't report it anymore. They reported it a while back, and they've kind of hidden it now because it helps Trump. 70%. That's because last year at this time, people I just showed you, right? These people here, people were operating in Caracas, and they were in jail in Caracas. Now they're operating in Aurora, Colorado. And Trans de Aragua is beginning to control the city. Now, the mayor originally supported the position until Feliz Navidad said it was untrue. They were lying. The people are panicking and lying. He's attacking his own people. However, and most of the other officials are kissing Feliz Navidad's you-know-what. Why you would even have a governor like that? I have no idea. I have no idea why you'd have a jackass like that as governor. People say, oh, he's a pretty good governor. He cut taxes. He probably didn't know what he was doing. District Attorney John Kellner, who oversees Aurora, told the New York Post the following. We're not a border state, but we're dealing with the fallout of a failed immigration policy. You think Feliz Navidad would say that? That would mean that Biden and Harris are a failure, right? Biden, the president, but who's the border czar? The moron you saw making faces on television the other night is the border czar. Imagine if she made faces like that meeting with Putin, or when if they watch the debate, they got to be licking their lips, thinking, "Geez, we took Ukraine under the other jerk. What are we going to take under her?" I mean, China already has San Francisco. They had a big parade for Xi. Do you know that the Chinese The Chinese spy that was caught in the New York City police commissioner's office went to the celebration for Z, Ted, that drove me nuts when I saw it on television. All these Chinese people are required to be yelling for Xi Jinping by Harris and Pelosi and Newsom, the California left-wing communist lovers. They're all cheering for Xi Jinping. Now, I want you to consider the fact that these Chinese people, and a lot of them had to be forced to do it, are cheering for someone who has killed more of their own people than any person on earth. There's nobody on this earth alive right now that's killed more Chinese people than Xi Jinping. These Chinese people were cheering for him. They're either communists like he is, or they're under coercion. Well, and a lot of them are communists, like the guy that just got fired in New York, and the police commissioner had to resign because he had a communist working for him. Another Democrat with communist working for him. We're going to find a Democrat that doesn't have a communist working for him? I wonder how many Harris had working for him, the 90% that left her. They probably get combat pay working for her. So there's no question that Aurora is overrun by trans Nicaragua. This guy, Jose Pacheco Chirinas, who goes by the name of Cookie, is known in the Tren Nicaragua gang as a shot caller. That means he's in charge of an area. He calls the shots in that area. One of the things he was caught for was brutally beating a man at the Aurora apartment complex because they were taking over the complex. He was then arrested, and in left-wing Democrat Feliz Navidad, Colorado, after he beat the hell out of the man, what do you think happened? It'd be like being in communist New York. They let him out so he could beat somebody else. Which he did. In fact, this time he shot somebody. So he goes from beating, let him out, give him as much time as get him out there really quick so he doesn't get interrupted in his beating and robbing people. We don't want to interrupt him. I mean, he's got to earn a living by beating and robbing people. Who knows how many he actually beat and robbed in between until he got caught for the shooting. What was it? A couple months later. But he's let out on bond from beating the hell out of a man. And he's an illegal. You don't turn him over because Feliz Navidad has a policy of not turning it over to the federal government. Because it wouldn't do any good turning it over to a federal government led by a traitor like Biden, who's working. Well, I don't know if he's working for China. It looks that way when you give up an airbase 400 miles from China and your family has gotten more money than the vast majority of you earn in a lifetime. But I mean, the idea that this is not overrun by Tren Nicaragua is absolutely, once again, a Democrat lie by one of their most prominent governors, a soulmate of Comrade Walz, Mr. Feliz Navidad. The apartment complex on Dallas Street has become the most infamous of the city's apartment blocks, filled with Tren Nicaragua. There's viral video of armed men beating down doors. And then, of course, Denver's not let out of it. Denver had a major arrest of a gang at the Ivy Crossing apartments there. And residents and local officials in Aurora say the police have been downplaying it. Here's a quote from a resident of Aurora. I've called the cops 20 times in the last month or two, and they've never come out. And the shame of it is Aurora tried to avoid this by not being a sanctuary city. Well, you can't avoid it because you're living in a communist state, Colorado. And they have decided that they can break the law and not cooperate with the federal government. Well, of course, it wouldn't matter if they did, but that's still no excuse. Now we get to Springfield, the place with the cats being eaten or the dogs being eaten or whatever being eaten. Well, first of all, there's a tape that supports that. Straight out. There's a man who came forward in March, whose name is Anthony Harris. He went to a town meeting, and he says that Haitians, I don't know how many, more than one, a lot. He says Haitians were killing and stealing ducks from the local park and eating them. He sounds pretty consistent with stealing cats, but okay. There are any number of reports of missing cats there. There are reports to the senator's office that their cats are missing, and there are reports that the cats are dead. I believe dogs also, but I know for sure cats. Now, here's why this is important. Making fun of that is really unfortunate, because people who can indiscriminately go around grabbing these animals and killing them are going to kill people. And they did. And nobody paid attention. Maybe, from what I can tell, these allegations are true. There's certainly support for it, and he shouldn't have been fact-checked without their saying that there was support for what he was saying, which, of course, these crooked reporters didn't do. But how about they should have said to maybe both of them, instead of talking about the cats and dogs, let's talk about the murders that the Haitians are doing, including the murder of Aiden Clark, 11 years old, just a month ago, by a Haitian. Illegal. Biden-Harris invitee. Maybe that's important to you? Does that matter? The town hall meeting recently, this is the report of it. Resident after resident stood up and berated the city government for allowing Haitians to threaten and bully locals, to flout public authority, and worse. So I think this number is correct. This place has 58,000 people. They put 20,000 illegal Haitians from a third to fourth world country in the middle of that. Haiti is tragically the worst poverty on our hemisphere, which also means the worst. You would have to compare Haitian poverty to African worst poverty or Asian worst poverty. Nothing like it in the rest of South America. Go across to the Dominican Republic on the same island. They have poverty, but it's nothing like in Haiti. I don't know how to describe it to you. Maybe we should show you pictures. I've been there twice, and I'm not sure that it isn't worse than India. Been in India 3 or 4 times. Certainly comparable. It is not comparable to Colombia, Brazil, Argentina. Never been to Venezuela. Mexico, which has a lot of poverty. Nicaragua, El Salvador. It's much worse. And they are culturally further behind, meaning they're into voodoo. And that doesn't mean all Haitians. We've got a wonderful population of Haitians in New York. Middle class, terrific. They're the mainstay of a lot of the livery businesses. And I had a tremendous relationship with them, believe it or not. They even voted for me, white man, because I don't treat people like white man, black man. And they appreciated that. And because I saved more black lives than any mayor in history. And they appreciated that. But there's also a whole group of Haitians that are, and I would describe it as fourth world. Because when you say third world, you don't get it. You don't get the poverty we're talking about. So it would not be unusual for them to eat animals. It's the only way they can survive, damn it, on the street. I don't know. I'm not going to condemn them for doing that. But I am going to condemn anybody that puts them into an established, civilized community without reprogramming them, without improving them, without... You're going to drag things down, not lift things up, you idiots. But that's what communists do. And that's what they want to do. They don't care about these people's lives. They've already registered 27% of them. They want them to vote illegally in a country in which they cover up voting fraud. or at least the main media covers it up and treats people like me who bring it out like we're criminals. I've been indicted for bringing out voter fraud. Basically, the case in Atlanta with Fannie the Hoe and the case in Arizona is my bringing forward allegations of voter fraud on behalf of my client, Donald J. Trump. That's what they want to put me in jail for. Doesn't sound like the lawfare that he was talking about. That's a nice word. Phony Garland came on today complaining about it. But he looked terrible, by the way. He looked like the damn liar and crook that he is. Without any doubt, the man has destroyed the Department of Justice. Just a selection of Jack Smith, who was a hitman with a terrible record for ethics as recorded by the United States Supreme Court, 8-0. The mere fact that an intelligent guy like Garland selected him meant he wanted him to do a hit on Trump. He had already done to Governor McDonald what he's now doing to Trump. He indicted him on a bullshit case, convicted him, went up to the Supreme Court, man destroyed his career, and then he was vindicated, 8-0. And they excoriated the prosecutor. Now, if you want a fair prosecutor and you want the feeling that it was handled fairly, you don't go pick a guy who has a history of framing people. No, you know what you're doing. Whatever Garland is, and I think he's a very crooked man, he's not stupid. You didn't pick Smith, and you're going to tell me you're treating people equally? I mean, you tried really hard to do anything you could to fix the case for Hunter. Hunter just wouldn't go along. And what you got it down to are bullshit charges. You left out anything having to do with the old man. And almost everything has to do with the old man, except the bullshit charges that you used. You left out all the money from China. You left out all the money from Ukraine. You left out all the money from Russia. You left out all the money from Romania. You left out all the money from Kazakhstan. You left out anything that would go back to him. And you even left out of the gun case the fact that the Secret Service tried to fix it for Hunter, which makes it very, very weird that you've selected the Secret Service to handle. What are they going to handle, Ted? That's this one.
What is this in Springfield?
No, the Secret Service. The Secret Service has been selected to handle election complaints.
Oh yeah. So I'm behind on that. So that's news to me.
The Secret Service is in their pocket.
The same group that failed to identify a threat for going on an hour
group
allow the president to get shot in the head.
The same group that certainly, if they didn't intend to have Trump hurt, did everything they could to get him hurt. They made every mistake you could possibly make in the protection of a president, a presidential candidate. And this comes from an expert. I'm an expert. I did it for Reagan. I did it for Clinton. And I did it for Bush for a year when I was mayor of New York. And they'd come to New York, and I did it for Reagan because I arrested Hinckley. I can't think of a thing that those guys did right in protecting President Trump. And now the crooked FBI isn't going to report to us until December. And that's the agency that tried to frame him 2 or 3 times. We are living in exactly what Donald Trump said and what the media is covering up. We're living in a country that, in terms of criminal justice, federal, has become a fascist state where the Bidens have control of it. And they have control of the federal system completely. We'll take a short break. Delivers on its promise to do good and never forget the sacrifices America's greatest heroes have made for us. Heroes who risked their lives to keep our communities and our country safe. Heroes like United States Marine Corps Captain and pilot John Jeremy Sachs. Captain Sachs sustained fatal injuries when his military aircraft crashed during training, killing him and 5 other service members. He's remembered by loved ones as courageous, brilliant, and devoted to his career, family, and friends. Sean is survived by his wife, Amber, who gave birth to their second daughter 3 months after his death. Tunnel to Towers paid the mortgage on the family home for Amber and their 2 daughters. The foundation has helped over 1,000 military and first responder families navigate the worst of times by removing the burden of a mortgage payment. Our nation's heroes and their families need your help now more than ever. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org. T2T.org. That's T, the number 2T.org. T2T.org. Please donate now.
Ringing or not? I want
Rudy Giuliani back with you and taking off for space.
to put you on here for now.
We're waiting for a call in by Bernie Kerik because today, and it's becoming an epidemic with Democrats. We had another Chinese communist or someone linked to Chinese communists, Lin Guan, identified as working for the police commissioner of New York.
Does Bernie hear us?
And is considered to be one of his top aides, and bragged about all the Chinese people that he put into the police department. Now, we don't know if those Chinese people are legitimate or they're Chinese red Chinese connections.
Commissioner, are you there?
But this is also a guy, I believe, who went to the celebration for Xi Jinping.
Right.
No, he didn't actually. The people from the group that he's associated with,
And we have
the Fujian Tang 2 group, the Dongguan group, they all went to San Francisco to cheer for the guy who murdered more Chinese than any living person. Bernie?
No.
But doesn't seem to be.
Hey, Commissioner, can you hear us? Okay.
Oh, Bernie, can you hear me? Okay. So Bernie, it looks like the police commissioner resigned. How long has he been there?
Been there about 2 years, I guess.
So what do you make of it? Is it because of the communist or guy associated with Chinese communists that they uncovered today, or is it because of the underlying investigation?
I think it's more so this has been going on since last year.
Right.
The Fed started looking at Eric Adams' campaign person. And you know, this whole thing where the police commissioner's house, the deputy mayor, another deputy mayor,
Wow.
they were raided. You had 7 to 9 people within the police department received grand jury subpoenas from the feds at senior levels, high levels within the department. You know, there's a bunch of questions that I'm looking at on the social media front. You know, what were these trips with Caban to Dubai, to the Dominican Republic, to other places, and then his connections to a bunch of questionable people, you know, up in Bronx and other places. So I don't know, Mayor. It's widespread.
Mhm.
It's you know, it's who knows? But
Yeah.
I'm one person. You know, I've been targeted by the government,
Right.
as we all know, and
Me too.
I will. You know, I'm the first to say, you know, I don't want to speculate,
Good.
but you know, it just doesn't look good. It doesn't sound good. And you know, and the other thing that's really questionable for me I understand that the guy that Eric Adams is placing in charge of the police department is a former federal agent. If that's who he's picked for sure, and that's the guy that that kind of concerns me as well.
Tell me what.
Well, because Mayor, as you know, running a federal agency, working within a federal agency, and working within a municipal police department is two very different animals, right?
Mm-hmm.
The municipal police department has to deal with inner communities, has to deal with community relations on a daily basis, has to do a bunch of things that the feds, you could be a federal agent for your entire career, 30-year career, and never once have anything to do with any community anywhere.
Right. I know both, Bernie. As U.S. attorney, I work probably closer with the NYPD than any U.S. attorney did, but I also work very closely with the FBI. So I know the strengths and weaknesses of both. Could it be that Adams is trying to suck up with the feds?
Well, that's exactly, it's funny you said that. That's exactly what I was thinking. Like, where did this guy get recommended from? Who recommended him? Why was he put in this position? You've got extremely talented people within the NYPD that they know the job. Some of them were around when we were there. They know how to reduce crime. They know the city. Uh, why weren't they considered? The NYPD is unlike any other police department in the country because it's so massive.
Yeah, I mean, what is it now? Even cut down, what is it, 35,000 cops? Something like that?
It's
about 50,000.
uniform. So it's 35,000 uniform, but you have about 10,000 civilians as well.
Yeah, it's about 50,000.
I think my numbers 41,000 uniform,
Yep.
14,000 civilians for a total of 55,000. There's no federal agency that's run like the NYPD, and there's no other municipal police agency that's run like the NYPD or as big as the NYPD. So why would you go outside and bring in somebody from the outside? Even you, when you were looking at the police department, the only person you put in charge of the PD actually was Howard Safer, who came from the fire department.
Yep.
So he already understood.
I would not. I mean, I thought about it originally when I selected Bratton, and I didn't take him for the police department originally because I wanted to see how he integrated in New York City for exactly the reason that you say. But the reality is, the thing that worries me even more. I mean, you can get the unusual Fed that works closely with the police. The thing that worries me more is the guy is doing this. I mean, I think everything is political with Adams. I don't know if he's involved or he isn't. I keep saying I don't know if he's a koch and all this went on around him and he didn't know, or he's taking. We're going to find out. And I'm not going to prejudge like you do because I've been prejudged and I don't like it. But the reality is, I have no doubt that this is some kind of political move. He doesn't make moves in the best interest of the city. He makes the city be in a lot better shape if he did. He's doing this and he's doing it for himself. So, Bernie, let me ask you another thing. You got a wonderful award last night that you deserve for September 11 and your work. Tell us how you feel about I mean, here you are, someone who almost lost his life on September 11. You went off and volunteered to serve and help in Iraq. After that, almost got yourself killed there. How do you feel about the condition of the country right now in terms of how the hell do we know how many Islamic terrorists are in this country? We can't possibly have any idea. And what are the chances that we get hit again?
Well, nobody has any idea, and here's why. I actually talked about this the other day. 19 men on September 11, 2001, beat the United States almost to a sneeze. 19, 9. Well, over the last 3.5 years, we've let tens of millions of illegals into the country. But out of that number, about 200 of those were on the terror watch list that we actually captured or caught or identified. However, there's 200,000 to 300,000 military age males that have come in from, I would consider, target-rich environments for terrorism, right? Syria, Iraq, Afghanistan, Somalia, Kenya, Tanzania,
All the places
Yemen.
that Trump used to put heavy exclusions on and got accused of xenophobia. How about trying to protect our lives?
Exactly. So you have 200,000 to 300,000 military-age males came from there. They came into this country. They were unvetted. Nobody knows who they were. And, I've heard the Biden administration and Harris say, yeah, they were vetted. That's an impossible. That's just, it's a lie. It's an outright
It's a
lie
big lie.
because we don't have diplomatic relations with Syria. We don't have diplomatic relations with Iran. We don't have diplomatic relations with a bunch of these countries. And even the ones we do you think Yemen and places like that are going to tell us exactly who these people are? No, they're not. And they got into our country and they melted into communities like chameleons. Where are they today? Nobody knows.
Yeah.
What are they doing here? Nobody knows. And I can promise you, if there's 200,000 to 300,000, there's at least 10,000, at least at a minimum, and I'm saying bare minimum 10,000, and have the same mindset and the same ideology as the men that attacked this country on September 11th and the people that attacked Israel on October 7th of last year. And the ideology is not, it's just not about hatred for the West. It's not just about hatred for Israel. It's hatred, period, for anybody that doesn't believe and follow the Quran. And in their view, in their minds, if you disagree with their religious beliefs, they have a right to kill you.
Bernie, how much time have you spent in the Middle East? 5 years, 6 years?
No, over 10.
Over 10 years.
This
is a man.
I was there.
This man is talking about.
I was there from 78 to 80.
Right.
For Saudi Arabia from 82 to 84 in Saudi Arabia. That's 4.5. I worked for the King of Jordan for 5 years. I was the Minister of Interior for Iraq for about 6 months. I've worked for the Sheikh of Dubai. I've.
In other words, I'm pointing out, you know what you're talking about.
Oh yeah, no,
it's not coming from a scholar. This is coming from a guy who has lived it and has been involved in it. And I was very lucky to have you on September 11 because of that background, Bernie. And so were the people of the city of New York. And I missed you yesterday, but tell us the award you got.
Well, last night I was honored in Nashville and given the Charlie Daniels Patriot Award by the Journey Home Project,
Great.
which is a foundation that he honored and created 10 years ago. But what was great about last night's award, Mayor, receiving the award from Hazel Daniels, Charlie's widow, and Dave Corlew was great. But I also had 3 people join me on the stage. And it sort of shocked the audience. And those 3 people was Kathy Vigiano, Joe Vigiano, and Jimmy Vigiano, the widow and the 2 senior sons.
Yeah, I just talked about them.
Detective Joe Vigiano, who worked for me and died on September 11th. So they were down there with me.
Isn't that nice? Night. Isn't that nice? Give him my love, all right?
Great. Yeah, I will.
You know what? I mentioned his son, who's now a police officer for some time, because there's a large group of firefighters and police officers that followed their father or mother into the police department and fire department. He's one of them. There he is. I just put a picture of him with his little boy, Joe Vigiano III.
I want to talk about this family for 1 second.
Please.
Joe Vigiano that died worked for me. He had a brother, John. He died as well. But
there's a picture of him. There's a picture of him with Kathy on the screen right now. You should know.
Their father was one of the most decorated firefighters in the history of the FDNY. Both sons died, but Joe had 3 sons. And on the day he was buried, Joey was 8. Jimmy was 6, and Johnny was 3 months old. Right today, All three sons are United States Marines, and the two senior sons are New York City cops. One wears his father's shield number, and the other wears his mother's shield number. So you talk about a family of service
Yeah.
to the city, to this country.
Yeah, they're the top.
I don't know many of them.
Yeah, not too many like that. A couple, but that's about, you know, this is an extraordinary group of people, Bernie. And I used it as an example of something like 75, 80 have followed mom, usually dad, but in some cases mom, into the PD and the FDNY. Like them, they followed their dad, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Exactly.
Joe Senior was the guy that started the whole thing going.
Yeah.
Well, Bernie, I miss you. Hope to see you very soon.
All right, boss.
All right, congratulations. You know how much I love
Thank you.
Okay. Now there is an American patriot, my friend.
Unbelievable story, Bernie.
They're talking about the Vigianos, and they are exceptional. You can't. I'm glad he did that because I got a chance to mention them briefly yesterday because of Joseph Vigiano Jr. and the picture you saw of Joseph Vigiano III, who's the little boy. And you might have noticed that the father might even look younger than the son in the picture. That's the father when he got married to his mother, Kathy. They're both police officers. And Joe, in the picture, died on September 11 in the tower, saving people. He was part of emergency services, one of the leaders of emergency services. And that's our group of police officers, like the rescue units in the fire department. They're the ones who are have the most expertise in saving people, you know, climbing up to the top of the Brooklyn Bridge and taking people down from high buildings and going into fires and saving other firefighters and police officers. And that Joe that you're looking at right now on the screen, oh, he's in a category of, you know, maybe the 10 or 20 bravest men I've ever met. And so is Kerik, by the way. Well, we're going to take a short break and we'll be right back.
We're having the biggest sale ever on overstock clearance and brand new products. For example, save 60% on our Goose Down comforters, the best comforters ever. They go perfectly with our MyPillow bed sheets and duvet covers. Save 25% on our brand new kitchen towels. They're made with the same technology as our famous My Towels. Our initial quantities are extremely low, so get them now before they go. Our seasonal flannel sheets are finally in. You save up to 50% and they sell out fast every year, so order now. They're truly the best flannel sheets you'll ever sleep on. Or save up to 80% on all our clearance items. And this is where it gets even better. For a limited time, your entire order ships absolutely free. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use that promo code to get deep discounts on all MyPillow products. And for a limited time, your order ships absolutely free.
Rudy Giuliani, and I'm back with America's Mayor Live. I mean, that was a wonderful interview with a great man, and it covered a lot. I know it's hard to absorb it all. There's a case going on in New York and I know we're talking to people all over the country, and in some cases, some people outside the country. There's a case going on in New York, in addition to the scandalous political cases that go on now, of which there probably are a couple of hundred. I happen to be in two of them, but only two, that the Biden administration and the Harris people are using to act like South American dictators. You should understand that Joe Biden and Kamala, whatever the hell her name is, and she changed the pronunciation of a name. So stop all this phony bullshit about, oh, you're not pronouncing my name correctly. You used to be Kamala. We got you on tape that way, jackass. Now you're Kamala. What are you going to become later? Queen? Believe me, when the Red Chinese take over, They're going to have no use for you because they know how dopey you are. They know you failed the bar exam, Camel. The American people don't know it because they don't tell the American people. But I don't know. That's a pretty good indication of why you needed notes. And that's a pretty good indication of why you acted like a fool when Trump was speaking. I've never seen a presidential candidate make the weird faces you were making while the other guy was talking. When I had assistant U.S. attorneys like that, I'd fire them. And if I didn't fire them, the judges would call me up and tell me to get rid of them. They're a bunch of, he said, it's a sign of being an immature idiot. Immature idiot. He said, you got an assistant that's really an immature idiot. He makes faces at the jury. This guy was making faces at the American people. This woman was making faces at the American people. Well, there's a case in New York with the communist Soros inflicted on us absolutely crooked DA Bragg, the guy who illegally, criminally prosecuted Trump for nothing, for a crime he made. It's not a crime. He made it up. Well, he's prosecuting this Marine for killing someone on the subway. And it's in front of Justice Maxwell Wiley. The man is Daniel Perry. He's a former United States Marine. I think he's former. I think he's former. I'm not sure if he's still a Marine. I should check. I think he's a former U.S. Marine. But he was on the subway, and there's a man who is now determined to have been mentally deranged and a serious problem on the subway. But of course, mentally deranged is something you have a chance to figure out by being in an office and examining someone and going over their symptoms and checking them against the BDM-5. When a guy comes on the subway and starts yelling and screaming and throwing things at people, that he was willing to kill a mother effer, quote, and I don't care if I go to jail if I kill you. I don't know, in the modern age in which we live, if you say, oh, there's a mentally disturbed man, let's just let him do what he wants. You know what we have then? Then we have him killing 5 people and everybody writing, oh, people don't take care of Israel anymore. Almost like the Kitty Genovese case that was legendary 30 or 40 years ago, where she's being raped and killed in the alleyway and nobody came forward to help her. Well, we have it on the subway now. Old people get killed. Nobody helps them. But we had a Marine there. And he heard a guy that looked like he was serious about killing people. Yelling and screaming he's going to kill people. I don't know, if you yell and scream you're going to kill people, they may believe you. And not all of them are wussies and sissies and unable to defend themselves. This guy was a brave man. And he grabbed him and restrained him. The guy died. They say he put him in a chokehold. That is not a chokehold. He's holding his frickin' beard. He's holding his beard. This is no more a chokehold than, when we went through the Floyd case and we find out he died with no sign of strangulation, but from massive overdoses of drugs. From their coroner, crooked Minneapolis coroner. He is not choking him. He's holding him. You see the beard? Now, for that to be a chokehold, that arm would have to be in here, in the Adam's apple, in your Adam's apple. He's here. Like that. You hold him like that, which is the way he was trained to hold him in the United States Marines. You don't give a Marine a break? You don't give him the goddamn benefit of the doubt, you creepy communist? You're prosecuting this young man? Everybody on that subway wants to kiss him. You're the one who gets people killed in New York, not Daniel Penny. How many people have been killed since you've been DA, you creep Bragg? How many? I know how many I saved. How many did you get killed. Just prosecuting this guy got people killed because there were people who were reluctant to step in. You step in and you go to jail. There's not enough that people are afraid to step in. Now you go to jail for it. This guy was threatening to kill people. Don't you? I mean, my God, if I were on a subway and some guy's yelling and screaming, I'm going to kill people and throwing things at them, I want somebody to step in and protect the women and the children and some of the men that aren't capable of it. Well, now here's the problem. They have video of it, and I think this one exists, which is dispositive. That is not a chokehold. I'm sorry, that is not a chokehold. I'll get you 1,000 experts to tell you that is not a chokehold. There is video of it taken by a European couple who refused to come back from Europe. And they refused to give us their video. Right. They have reportedly said that it was justifiable. There are witnesses that say it's justifiable who watched it and said they were glad he did it.
But they won't.
Well, those witnesses may come forward, the ones that are around. But the ones that have the video in Europe,
they won't comment on
so
it.
far they won't. They've talked to the DA over the phone. They won't come here.
Which is good for Which is good for
Well,
Penny.
no, because his lawyer says if you had the video, you would see he never did anything but that. It remained that way.
Okay.
He never, in other words, you could say, well, you see that. Well, at some point he took his arm and put it down.
Yeah.
But the video apparently completely extricates him.
Well, yeah, these people, I wouldn't trust Bragg or any of them if I'm this foreign couple, to be honest. Yeah.
To Trump, he framed him completely.
Yeah, if I'm this foreign couple, I'm staying the hell away from this guy.
They get a judge who's a crook.
Well, who's to say they didn't get a threatening phone call over there in England? Said, "Listen, do me a favor, stay there."
This is not a case normally where the judges would be crooked. It's the political cases where the New York judges are crooked.
This is almost a chance for a judge.
And virtually true of every single one of them on the Supreme Court in Manhattan.
This is a chance.
They're there because of Bruce Wright. Yeah, but I don't know if they would screw around with this case.
You're right.
You don't have to.
Yeah.
The deal in New York is, and has been since Boss Tweed, you get appointed. You're not a judge because anybody elected you. That's a bunch of crap.
Right.
That's a fairy tale. You get appointed because the head of the Democratic Party in York County, who has come up the hard way, and the guy who's head now is a lawyer, but his father was Let Him Loose Bruce. Someone who probably let more criminals go free than anyone during Ed Koch's administration. And he was Koch's arch enemy, my predecessor, also a Democrat.
That's why this goes on for decades.
So we got a criminal loving guy as the Democratic leader. I can't say that Bruce Wright is crooked. I can just tell you he took over an office that has a history of massive crookedness. There aren't too many years in which Tammany Hall, that was the central part of Tammany Hall, the Manhattan Democratic Party. There aren't too many years in which the party wasn't crooked under Democrats. But he may be honest. I'm not accusing him of being dishonest. But I am saying he picked the judges. And they are beholding to the Democrat Party. It's a dictatorship. It's like Chicago, 60 years of Democrats. And the silly people of Chicago still vote for the worst Democrat, Brandon Jerkoff, who thinks that Nixon caused crime.
They're under the direction of Marxists. It all makes sense.
Let's look at Engeron, whatever his name is. They keep pointing out he was elected 3 times. That's not being elected when you don't have an opponent. He ran 3 times without having an opponent. Because the head of the Democrat Party in crooked Manhattan picked him. And he owes his job to the head of the Democratic Party in Manhattan, or somebody close to the head of the Democratic Party in Manhattan. Somebody is, we call it, his rabbi. Now, it may be that they're not going to bother him in most cases. But some of them, if some of those politicians back in the club want to make a little money and they got a nice case, accident case, whatever, who knows if they don't get to the judge. Not that it hasn't happened in New York, right? But I'm not saying that across the board. What I'm saying across the board is you get to a political case and they go Democrat, 100%. They just did it on in a massive, scandalous way on redistricting. They do it on taking people off the ballot. You don't get a chance to make a fair decision. I'm telling you, if you do, you're not going to be on the bench long. They get rid of you. Or the person who was appointed to rule on my disbarment is a former judge appointed by that process, appointed now as a referee, where she makes a lot of money being a referee, judging these things and then reporting. If she had acquitted me, Trump's lawyer, she would never get another appointment. The gravy train would poof end. So would the parties and the bridge and the friends. I mean, I could tell because she was most of the time during the trial or hearing.
Like Dershowitz, right? Up in
I mean, they introduced a tape, 12 hours of tape, without telling me either they didn't know or didn't care or didn't look. 3 hours were missing. The 3 hours happened to be the 3 hours where most of the comments I made were directed. I didn't realize they were missing right away because it was done deceptively.
That was just a coincidence.
Ted right here discovered it with me one night, late at night, when all of a sudden the tape seemed rather strange. It was jumping. And all of a sudden, I remember seeing this, and it's not on the tape. I'm saying, what happened? Am I getting like Biden? And then we look down. Now we start to realize that it's skipping. I mean, visually. We're trying to figure out how do we prove it? Well, stupidly, they left the counter below on. So you could just match the counter below to the one on top, or vice versa. I don't remember. And you got 3 hours missing out of 12, almost 3, about 2:47. It happens to be during the period of time that all the people were thrown out of the arena and they did all the cheating.
FBI?
Honestly, no, I don't think so. I think it happened in Atlanta because before it was sent to them. I think so. Well, that's what he says. He said, we got it this way. The prosecutor, who also is a complete zealous, never mind, a bad guy, consumed and really screwed up. But he says, let's believe him for a minute. This is the way we got it. They obviously never examined it carefully enough because they knew they were going to hang me, whether there's evidence or not.
Right.
I mean, they should have carefully examined it, and they certainly shouldn't have presented to me as if it was an intact tape to try to fool me. But I'm not sure they knew. Ted, were you there when I disclosed it to them?
Yeah.
Yeah, they seemed actually, it seemed, I'm going to give you my impression, like David Muir said that Trump didn't seem sarcastic. They seemed shocked. They seemed surprised that there was that much missing.
They got caught with their pants down.
And they basically said, this is the way we got it from the Secretary of State's office, which puts the onus on Ratzenberger, who's a real scoundrel. I wouldn't put it past Ratzenberger to have doctored up this tape, maybe not just for me, but for everybody he gave it to. But in any event, I don't really care who doctored it. They did. And she paid no attention to it. It was like this was normal, 3 hour gap. I mean, the Nixon gap was 27 minutes. This is 3 hours. Doesn't matter. She just barred me anyway. I knew she would. I think at one point she said to me, you don't really respect this court, do you? I said, no, I don't. I'm going to lie. I'm going to kiss her backside. I know she's there for a reason. I know she's there because the Democrat Party put her there. I was the damn U.S. attorney in this place. I was an assistant U.S. attorney in this place. I know it backwards and forward. I know it much better than she'll ever know it. And I know who she is. And I got to sit there, and I was respectful pretty much. But it was very hard. And very hard when you've prosecuted criminals like this at the highest level. Probably been the most successful doing it, having to deal with these criminals who are prosecuting you. The people prosecuting me are criminals. Fannie the Hoe is a criminal. She took money from her campaign account and used it personally, admitted it under oath. And Atlanta is so crooked, it doesn't even strike, just like the missing tape doesn't strike anything up here because they're so damn crooked.
I want these people to pay. I want them to pay.
I don't know if they're ever going to pay. They control the media. But this, This is terrible what they're doing to this guy. This guy put his life in jeopardy for our country. He put his life in jeopardy that day. This guy could have pulled out a knife and stuck it in the side. And he is not choking him, damn it. Show me a picture of him choking him. Even if he was, it could be a mistake that his arm slipped down. He's trying to protect the people on the train. There's nothing to suggest that he had any desire to hurt anybody that day. There's nothing to suggest that. There's no racial component to it. There's no anger component to it. He's not mentally ill. He did what a brave young man should do. He did what a red-blooded, brave American should do rather than the communists want us to do. Because they want to degrade this country. The reason Soros paid for all these DAs to let criminals kill us like crazy. And the biggest victims of it are black people. Because it's mostly in cities with large, poor black populations, and they're getting killed like crazy, like Chicago. And not a single person who's theoretically a black politician or a Democrat comes forward. She's worried about whether Trump described her as an Indian or a black. What the hell is she doing for the black people in Chicago? This weekend, 6 of them or 7 of them or 10 or 15 will get killed just like every weekend.
Howard.
All they're interested in is money and power. And the press enables them and makes them completely arrogant because they believe they can get away with absolutely anything. The New York City Council is about to vote on a reparations bill. And they're probably going to vote it unanimously because you want to talk about a group of left-wing. I actually think they're too stupid to be communists. To be a communist, you got to be able to read a little bit of Das Kapital or a little bit of Marx or Engels or some of the later communists. They're a bunch of, followers and jerk-offs. And they're going to vote for reparations in New York, to set up a commission for reparations in New York. Do you know when we ended slavery in New York? How about 1827? So, I mean, you know how many people we lost in the Civil War fighting to free black people? Do we get a rebate for that? I mean, and how many? I mean, if there were slave owners in New York, it was before 1827. And even then, we didn't have much slavery in New York. It was an abolition state. We fought for the Union. We fought for Lincoln. We fought to free the slaves. There's a regiment at Gettysburg that all died of New Yorkers. So Borelli, who is the Republican leader of a very small group, five or six people in the city council out of 51, half of the council has already signed on as sponsors of the bill. So it's got to pass, right? They're going to have a study. They're going to have a study on whether there should be reparations in New York City specifically. And now New York City probably, even before 1827, probably had less slavery than any part of the state, if the state had any slavery. The other one who did a report on this was California, and they never had slavery either. And they proposed making $5 million lump sum payments to each black city resident in 2023. It would cost about $175 billion. Now, the mayor of San Francisco nixed that idea, and she defunded the city's reparation office in January. So I don't know what Adams is probably too cowardly to step in. For some reason, Adams, the mayor of New York, and the city council, although they're both, the city council is left of Adams. They hate Adams. I mean, they just rejected his choice for the city's chief lawyer, who used to be my first deputy mayor. Randy Mastro, who is a Democrat, right? I've had Democrats and Republicans working for me. And they rejected him. I mean, he's overqualified for the job. He was going to do it really to help the city. The guy is a partner in Gibson Dunn, making millions of dollars a year. And he wanted to do it because he loves public service and he's dying to do it again. They turned him down. They turned him down in part because he has, some connection to me. But really, they turned him down because they hate Adams. They're not going to. And I don't know. I don't know why they hate each other, but they do. I mean, this reparations thing is crazy. So somebody's got to nail, has to nail Kamala on that. She was for reparations. I'm sure she is flipped on that. So we've become number 16 now. The woman who has consistently maintained her values has changed her position on 15 major issues to fit what's more popular now. Bernie Sanders said she did it not because it's for the good of the country, not because she's seen some change. She did it, Bernie Sanders said, and here he was being honest, to get elected, which means she's lying. Yeah, I mean, at least they might ask her, do you think 15 is a little too many? I mean, you think 15 is sending a message that you're a phony liar? 15 positions to change on is just about as many. I mean, how many do they have? 20? I don't think she has any, actually. She can't articulate any. Right? So Joe Borelli says, if they can introduce me to one New Yorker who owned a slave, I'd be happy to consider it. But until then, I'm not paying a dime as a reparation for a harm I did not cause, do not condone, and didn't participate in. He says if they pass it and they require us to pay, he'll move out. So will everybody else. And they're moving anyway. I'm now a resident. My domicile is in Florida.
Yeah.
And not here. I'm going to vote. I'm going to vote in Florida this year. I mean, I've just had it. I've been there on and off. The summers now not the summer, the winters. It was before. It was before I. It was before. Oh yeah, I started going there before I ran for president. So probably about 20. Judith and I used to go down there, 2000 and something or other. Then we bought a condo for her parents. Then we bought a condo for ourselves. Well, that condo we probably bought about 10, 12 years ago. But I mean, I don't want to. I don't want to. Having been the mayor of New York, I love this place. And I wish I could chart for you a course that would save it. New York City, I can see New York State getting saved. The choices you've made, my fellow citizens in New York, are so completely absurd and brainwashed. And the attitudes that you have are so decidedly affected by Marxism. And the hatred that you have for Donald Trump is insane, is damn insane. And it all is driven by Democrat brainwashing. I don't see you fixing yourself. I mean, you're probably not going to pass reparations. Even California was not stupid enough to do that. But you give credit cards to illegal aliens, and we have no idea if they're criminals or not. And there's a good chance that a lot of them are, because a lot of them come in unexamined. First of all, as Bernie Kerik said, the vetting process almost doesn't exist. I'll give you an example. Probably the people we should be the most careful about coming into this country are the Chinese. We ask them 4 questions because it was taking too long. Taking too long to let the illegals in. I mean, the choices we make are insane. There were any number of reports of observations of large numbers of illegals just going right past and letting them in because nobody wanted to stay late enough to really vet them. And if we vet them, what the hell are we going to find out? Yemen's going to tell, oh yeah, he's a spy. We sent them there to bomb New York. Finally, and nobody wants to pay attention to this, that people are coming over the border completely unobserved. And those are going to be the most dangerous people because those are the people that the cartels are making a fortune on. So the Sinaloa, the Gulf, Del Golfo, all the cartels control various parts of the border completely. They know where we don't have any resources because we're strained. Big money is in getting them over without any detection. That's what they're doing with fentanyl. That's what they're doing with the Chinese. That's what they're doing with the human traffickers, the child traffickers. You want to bring over a bunch of children you're going to use for prostitution? You bring them over and nobody sees them. I've forgotten how big a border, 1,300 miles or something. I mean, it's a gigantic border. And even when we patrolled it, the estimates were for everybody we detected, there were anywhere from 50 to 200% that came across undetected. And usually, the more that come in that you have to apprehend, the more that can come in undetected because your resources are being strained. So using that logic to protect our country, where you should take the worst possible case, when he says there are 18 to 20 million here, I don't know if Trump isn't right. We can register about 8, 9. Well, there are studies that have said that it's double that. And maybe more than double that. It depends on the study that you want to use. And the honest truth is we don't know. It's anybody's guess. All we do know, it's a lot of people. And we do know that when you have an open border, you're going to get a lot more criminals because criminal groups would be stupid not to take advantage of it. And they're not stupid like Biden and Harris. They're smart. So the Chinese communists are going to take advantage of it for sure. The Chinese fentanyl operators who operate with the cartels are making billions. I mean, our fentanyl debts have gone up 3 times. That's not accidental. It's because our border is wide open, which means a lot of the fentanyl is coming over undetected at those points where there is nobody watching. This has got to be solved, and it can be. Trump had it down to 400,000 the last year. I think it was headed down to 2. Deporting these people, we can do it. It's a big job. You're going to hunt them down. Well, it's a lot better than they're hunting us down. If we're going to hunt them down, the guy just killed a kid, and they're worried about whether we're going to hunt these people. Of course, we're going to hunt them down before they come and hunt me down, or hunt down my granddaughter, or hunt you down. We let criminals come in. Not all of them, but who the hell knows how many? Look at the large number from Venezuela that's here. Look at the crime rates in Venezuela. And if we could, let's go look at the prisons because they're empty, just like Castro did. And there's a historical precedent for it that none of the morons want to tell you about except me, because I lived through that historical precedent, the Mariel boat lift and the Haitian migration of 100,000 a month, until we stopped it with basically a predecessor of Remain in Mexico, which was Remain in Haiti. We put Coast Guard cutters outside of Port-au-Prince, and we intercepted them before they went across to Miami. And we did the asylum hearing on the Coast Guard cutter, and we returned 95% of them. We just took them and put them right back in Haiti where they belonged. And we probably saved half their lives doing it because half of them would drown. And they didn't give a shit because the boat captain got his $200 a person. And the liberals thought it was great because they could get more Democrat voters in. Who cares if half of them die coming over? These people have no soul. They don't have a soul. Somebody took it from them in the name of power, greed, importance, greed, power, greed. Well, I covered this. I let you know about that. I want you to know that that there is a big push in Pennsylvania for the Jewish vote. A lot of people think that Pennsylvania will get decided by the Jewish vote. So McCormick is doing what he should do, which is visiting Jewish centers and trying to point out something that Trump tries to point out. You got to be out of your mind to vote Democratic. Look, if you're Jewish, I love Israel as much, and probably some of you, I love it more than you do. Not only do I love it, but it's backed up by going there at times they were in trouble to help them. When he said the other night in the debate that if she gets elected, there may not be an Israel, that was not an exaggeration. You got to look at Iran. Look at Iran, the Islamic Republic of Iran, which was on the balls of its ass when Trump left office. He had squeezed them the way they should have been squeezed by Obama. But Obama had some kind of a pathological fixation and love for Iran, maybe because they hate America so much, and he does. He gave him cash. Now, nobody's ever examined, because Obama is untouchable, right? Nobody's ever examined just how criminal that was. Obama sent over boatloads of cash, undetected, to the terrorists. There's no question that the money was going to go to the terrorists. No question. Why would they ask for it in cash? And we know that they give half their budget to terrorists. That's why they have poverty. So Obama, who is not stupid, Biden is, Obama isn't, had to know he was funding terrorism. And at that time, the terrorism, including killing us, Soleimani was dead set on killing a lot of us. There are a lot of American families that don't have their son or sometimes daughter because Soleimani with the Quds Force killed them. Who knows? Could have been American money. I really believe if you did a study now with Biden, we come into office and basically Iran is bankrupt. They couldn't possibly have afforded financing Hamas doing what they did to Israel if Trump had remained in office. First thing Biden does is lift all the sanctions because he wants to get another stupid nuclear agreement. Then he starts feeding them cash. We think they're up about $300 billion now, which means they're flush with money. They're supplying, how about this? They're supplying rockets for Russia so Russia can attack Ukraine. And Biden and Harris support Ukraine, but they're not stopping Iran from giving them rockets. And they're making sure Iran gets money by releasing money. So they may be paying for the rockets that are hitting Ukraine. And they're yelling and screaming about Ukraine. I don't know what they want to do in Ukraine. Biden won't let them go into Russia and attack Russia. Maybe a good idea. You don't want a nuclear war. You can't win unless you attack Russia. They have shown that they do not have the capacity to take back a large portion of what Russia has taken. Now, to do that, they'd have to also destroy Ukraine because they'd be attacking their own cities, right? So the only way you're going to win this war, and Zelensky wants to do it, is make Russia pay, attack them. Biden, Harris, the whole administration say, no. We said we wouldn't get involved. We're not going to get involved. It could lead to a war with Russia. So now what are you doing? What you have him in is an endless war where everybody's checkmated. Russia's got its territory. It grabs a little more. Ukraine takes a little back. Russia grabs a little more. Another 20,000 people dead. Where the hell are you going with this war? Same thing in Israel. He doesn't want Bibi to win. Don't eliminate Hamas. Poor Hamas, poor Palestinians. Look at their dying. Maybe they shouldn't have attacked Israel. Maybe they shouldn't have supported Hamas. Maybe they should stop teaching their kids at 2 years old, including non-Hamas Palestinians, the ones you're crying about. Maybe they should stop teaching them to kill Jews and Americans. Maybe if you did that, there wouldn't be a war. Maybe if you did that, we could support a two-state solution. And maybe if you don't do that, which you're not doing, it's absolutely criminal to support a two-state solution, which says that Kamala, who the other night said she supports a two-state solution, is either a criminal or a complete jackass. How can you have a two-state solution with a terrorist state? Why, in the name of God, would we want to create another terrorist state that's an ally of Iran? Tell me how that's in the interest of the United States. Now, I don't know what their motives are. I really do, but I really can't prove it completely. But what I can tell you is their motives have nothing to do with the national security of you and me, of the United States of America, or of Israel. So when he says that Israel could get eliminated, hey, it's real small. And I have no doubt that Iran is holding back right now because they're not ready. They want about 3-4 years of developing as a nuclear power. Is the Ayatollah crazy enough to eliminate Israel? Yeah, damn right he is. Is the hatred for the Jewish people great enough to do it? Yeah, it's only about 1,700 years old, 1,400 years old, whatever. It's right in the Quran, justified. If you want to bother to read those books, you can read them out if you want, which I suggest. But the Ayatollah's not going to listen to me. Well, I think we've covered most of everything except for the fact that Hunter Biden recovered $17,929 in legal fees. In 17, let me get it exactly right. He recovered, they say 18,000, but the exact number is $17,920 were awarded by Los Angeles federal judge Herman Vera. And he is suing Garrett Ziegler. Garrett Ziegler worked for Peter Navarro between February of 2019 through January of 2021. He's been an outspoken critic of the Bidens, God bless him. And they say he exposed much of Hunter's laptop data on his site. Now, what? And he moved to dismiss the case. The judge denied the motion to dismiss and requires Ziegler to pay Biden's legal fees. I can't imagine what the justification for that is, since I can't understand how it could be possibly illegal for this guy to expose John Mac Isaac's property. It didn't belong to Hunter Biden when he exposed it. Hunter Biden left it with John Mac Isaacs. Now, you want to talk like a lawyer or you want to talk like a fascist pig? John Mac Isaacs owned it by virtue of the contract they had. Contract said if you didn't come back for it in 90 days, it reverts to the merchant. You didn't come back for it in a year. It's owned by John Mac Isaacs. They had to dismiss the case against John Mac Isaacs. They dismissed the case against me and Bob Costello. He sued us for the same thing. Now, I don't know who this judge is. I'm not going to make any accusations about the judge, except I do not, unless I'm missing something that I don't know, I do not understand how this case doesn't get thrown out. The wrong guy is suing. If John Mac Isaacs wants to sue, fine, except he gave it to me to publish. I published it to the world. I never called as a witness. I was given to me. It was the property of the man who gave it to me. He knew I was going to publish it. He completely approved. I gave it to the New York Post. There was no more privacy rights in this thing anymore. I knew it wasn't worth it giving it to the FBI. The FBI had it for a year and a half and they were hiding it. In fact, they tipped off people that I was going to do it because they've been surveilling me for 3 years that I didn't know. Someday, maybe we'll be able to show you just how bad this is. I got to tell you, I never, ever thought it was this bad. I never thought that. But this guy, we got to do something, Ted, with this guy, because Garrett Ziegler is really being screwed here. And as soon as I get off, I'm going to figure out how we can get in touch with him, because we should help him. Well, it looks like my younger staff here is getting tired, and the old man's got like tremendous energy. But we gotta pack. We gotta pack. You were going like this and all sorts of stuff. So I know we gotta pack too. We gotta pack. We're gonna do our show tomorrow night from a special location. It could be a lot of fun. You'll really enjoy it tomorrow night. It's a great location. Just makes you feel good to be there. But we'll let you know that. Maybe we'll put it online tomorrow. But we got to pack lots of stuff. We got to take all this stuff that we use. The magic, the camera, the lights, the our roadcaster, the Christmas tree, our Christmas tree. Sometimes Ted leaves this on at night, and I come through to go get a glass of water or maybe sneak a little something. And I think it looks like a Christmas tree. I kind of like it. Want to show it to people before we cut? There we go. Can you get to it? Yeah, there it is. There's the Christmas tree. It doesn't look that good, right? Yeah.
Dark room, it really.
Yeah. In a dark room, it's great. There's our little roadcaster. And we're doing this free event. We should be getting paid for advertising it, right? Well, we'll see you tomorrow night at an undisclosed location that you're going to find completely terrific. And I want you to, on everything that you think, I want you to think critically. I want you to think on your own. I don't even want you to accept what I'm saying. Go check it out. I'm happy to have you check it out. And if you want, that's why I try as much as possible. And you can't do it, otherwise we'd be on for 5 hours. I'd like to show you the proof. I'd like to show you her saying that Trump was racist in what he said in Charlottesville when he said that both sides have fine people. But she left out the fact that as soon as he said that, he said he wasn't talking about the white nationalists and the Nazis, and because they should be condemned. She left that out. I want to show you that that's true. She left it out. You don't have to believe me. Look at the tape. And I do that because they have us in such a defensive position, because they own all of the means of communication, but maybe 10%. Me, to some extent, whatever's left of Fox, Newsmax, and a bunch of people who operate like us. But I mean, we're going around the big wall. So you keep tuning in on Frank's speech and here on X, okay? And we'll keep informing you the best we can, even though they're trying to destroy us. Well, pray for the people of America and Israel and Ukraine. Pray for the people we lost on September 11, both then and now. And God bless America.
Carefully. Can you read it? Out loud? Yeah. Sure. It says, Dear Liam, happy 8th birthday. Mrs. Trump and I hope you enjoy this special occasion surrounded by the love of your family and friends. We are so encouraged by the strength and determination you have shown throughout your young life, and send our love and best wishes to you as you continue to fight. Remember, you are never alone, and we are keeping you in our thoughts and prayers for continued care and good health. May God bless you and your family. Stay strong. Sincerely. Can you tell me who signed that? He knew it was your birthday coming up? What do you say to him?
I
What else do you say?
Bear the principle of common sense and rational discussion to the issues of our day. America was created at a time of great turmoil, tremendous disagreements, anger, hatred. It was a book written in 1776 that guided much of the discipline of thinking that brought to us the discovery of our freedoms, of our God-given freedoms. It was Thomas Paine's Common Sense, written in 1776, one of the first American bestsellers, in which Thomas Paine explained, by rational principles, the reason why these small colonies felt the necessity to separate from the Kingdom of Great Britain and the King of England. He explained their inherent desire for liberty, for freedom, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, the ability to select the people who govern them. And he explained it in ways that were understandable to all the people, not just the elite. Because the desire for freedom is universal. The desire for freedom adheres in the human mind, and it is part of the human soul. This is exactly the time we should consult our history. Look at what we've done in the past and see if we can't use it to help us now. We understand that our founders created the greatest country in the history of the world, the greatest democracy, the freest country, a country that has taken more people out of poverty than any country ever. All of us are so fortunate to be Americans. But a great deal of the reason for America's constant ability to self-improve is because we're able to reason, we're able to talk, we're able to analyze,